Are you looking for a new job or want a career change? Look no further than Monster.com. Need a little help standing out? Our expert resume writing services will make sure you shine. Want to brush up on your interview skills? Engage with our AI interview prep tool. Want some advice on negotiating your new salary? Visit our salary tools and extensive library of career advice articles, and you'll have all the tips and tricks you'll need to succeed. Visit Monster.com today and take the first step towards your career. Monster.com. Find your right job fit.
Let's Talk with Heather Dubrow starts now. I'm very excited to have my guest today. She's a dear friend. I'm going to read her bio because it's very impressive. Carol Leifer is an Emmy, Golden Globe, Writers Guild Award, and Producer Guild Award winner for her work on Hacks. Yay! She's written for such shows as Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Saturday Night Live, Modern Family, The Larry Sanders Show. She's a stand-up comic. She's brilliant. She's funny. She's an incredible mom and wife and friend and all the things.
Yes.
Please welcome Carol Leifer.
It is so great to be here. I mean, we're friends, but I love being here in a professional capacity.
Yes. Isn't that great?
I love it. I love it.
You're having like a sick year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it really is very sick. Yes.
In a sick, because we mean that in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I've always wanted to win an Emmy. I've been writing for 40 years. And some people are like, really? An Emmy is really important? Yes. An Emmy was really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it came by surprise because we won for Hacks, but The Bear was kind of the odds on to win. So I took a job writing on the Emmys because I thought, well, I don't want to sit there and lose. That's a bummer.
I remember you telling me the story. You're like, I'm just going to take the job so I'm not in the audience.
Yes. And then they announced the show and I go out there in my Prada sneakers and, you know.
Your IFB and everything.
And my pantsuit, but that was thrilling. And then season 3, the one that I worked on of Hacks, has swept every award. So it's been absolutely thrilling. And I just wrote for the Oscars, which was my 11th time, and I love it more and more every time. So yeah, it's been a nice role to have, you know?
Isn't that cool? I was talking to Jackie Tone recently, and I was saying to her, because I'm saying the same thing to you, like, you're having a moment. Mm-hmm. Did you think, like, being 40 years into your career, you'd be having a moment?
No, not at all. I mean, I really go from job to job.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes there's so many peaks and valleys, and there have been valleys. And I say to Lori, my wife, like, I don't know, the next job, where it's going to come from. And then something happens. Or I go after something that I want, which is really one of, you know, my tips about staying in the business for a long time. I also go after a lot of jobs.
What does that mean in like practical terms? Like you network, you meet up with people?
I'll give you an example, Heather. Okay. Like Modern Family. Mm-hmm. I was a big fan. And then I went to some event and Steve Levitan, who co-created the show, he was there.
Him. Yes.
So I have no qualms, especially because I loved the show and I had ideas, going over to him and saying, I love the show. You know, would you consider hearing some ideas from me? And I always say consider because, you know, it's so different than, can I write an episode of the show? You know, people are so, and I always say, and if you can't swing it, I totally understand. No harm, no foul.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, no, I'd love to hear your ideas. Come in. And that's how I got to work on Modern Family. So that's what I mean about, I don't sit back. You know, a lot of people think doing this long, you coast, you know, everybody comes to you, this job, that job. No. And as you know, when to be successful in anything, you have to advocate for yourself.
Were you always like that, though? Or does age and wisdom and success give you more like balls?
Yes. I think age and wisdom definitely gives you more balls. Like my first writing job was for SNL. I was only doing stand-up. I got plucked by Al Franken, who was one of the producers. And
were you the first woman in that room?
No. That year, I was the only woman that, you know, there was another woman that got let go, but I was the only woman on staff. And I always felt, you know, I wasn't really in Lorne Michaels' camp. And I felt, well, I'm friends with the head writer, with Al Franken, I'm okay. But now looking back, instead of just like, nah, he doesn't really, I'm not really in the club, instead of kind of, well, I should get to know him more and engage him more and try to be friendlier so that he'd be friendlier to me. I look back now, I should have done that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But it's hard when you're younger like that, especially in the entertainment industry, because you're always afraid, no matter if you're a writer or an actor, whatever you are, that like if you make the wrong move, you're out.
Yes. But, there is always a way to do it, to be delicate. Like I mentioned before, asking people for a favor or an opportunity and giving them the out. And if you can't do it, I understand. And then people feel so much less pressure because, when you're asked for a favor, you're asked for a lot of favors. It's the way somebody asks. And also, a lot of times I'll approach people about something and they'll be like, I really can't swing it. I think you're great, and but we don't have an opening. Yeah, sure. And then I'll see them at events and everything is fine. It's no harm, no foul.
Not a big deal.
Yes.
That's so interesting. When did you start with stand-up, though, before you were writing?
Yes. I started, I was going to school at SUNY Binghamton because I'm from New York, like you are, but I grew up in Long Island.
Yes.
And I went to SUNY Binghamton. Yes. And we used to drive there to go to Dancer's restaurant for their Reuben sandwiches. But that's a discussion for our next dinner. Anyway, and I was in the theater department, and Paul Reiser was in my theater group, and he told me, summers I go to the clubs and comedy clubs in Manhattan, and I go to open mic nights. Like, don't you think you'd want to do that? Wouldn't that be fun? I was like, absolutely. But this
that sounded fun to you?
Yes.
That is so funny to me. And I think you know this story, but I had done this musical that was supposed to go to Broadway, and we had performed it at the Kennedy Center or whatever. But I played a girl. It was like Punchline the musical. Oh. So it was me and all these stand-ups. Have I never told you this story?
No, you never have.
So I was playing this girl who moves to New York to become a comedian. And I said to the producers, maybe I should do stand-up to research it. And they were like,
now
this is a great idea. Yeah. Terrified.
Yes.
I mean, I did it, but terrifying.
So even after you did it, you weren't like, oh, this wasn't that bad. I could keep doing this.
I don't know. I think probably I did it like a handful of times.
Yeah.
I performed at Igby's and then in New York, Don't Tell Mamas.
Wow.
I got invited to be in the Toyota Comedy Festival. I did like a little thing there.
Oh.
But I mean, I had a really cute act is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I think it would have been different had I, honed skills and gone to open mic nights and really done that. But I will say, I mean, I am not a stand-up comic. That is a skill set that is I have huge respect for stand-ups.
Well,
you're naked up there.
You are, but, most people's greatest fear, leading to my book, is talking in front of large groups of people.
Right.
Most comedians' greatest fear is not speaking in front of large groups of people because
so funny.
We love the attention and the focus. And the first time I went up on open mic night with Paul, I did great. I mean, I did 5 minutes and I killed. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be on the Tonight Show next week. And it's all happening. Blah, blah, blah. And it was the second time that I went on that I bombed miserably, so bad that I had invited some friends from college to see me. And I had a little cassette recorder on the table so I could tape my set. And you actually hear one of my friends in the middle of it, because I was doing so bad, go,
oh no. Please tell me you still have that.
I think I do. But that's what I mean. You have to do it. When I started every night for 3 years without judging yourself,
right,
to get good, because there's always up and down nights.
See, now that I've taken classes at the Groundlings, I understand that. I didn't then. To me, I was so terrified to be heckled or for something to go wrong.
Right.
But when you do improv, similarly, it's like you understand. Sometimes you go up and you suck and you question your whole reason for being.
Right.
Am I even talented? What am I doing this for? And then you go back up the next day and you're like, because because I'm good at this.
So when you do improv, do you have the same nerves that you had, apprehension doing stand-up, or it's a different game for you?
I haven't performed, so I don't know. But I guess getting up in front of the class is like performing.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not nervous to get up at all. I'm the first to raise a hand and go up and whatever.
Yeah, well, that's your personality.
Yeah, but like I think sometimes like I black out afterwards. Like I'm not really sure what happened.
That's the fun and the thrill of performing.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's great. It's good to expand yourself like that. So how did you, I'm not sure I know this, how did you transition from doing stand-up to then writing?
Well, like the SNL job, I was auditioning to be a performer, and Al Franken and the head writer came to see a showcase, and they were like, "We really like you. Do you want to write on the show?" And I was like, "Hell yeah."
Yeah.
And I was living in California at the time. I moved to New York, and that's how I got my first job. My first sitcom job, when I did my first audition night, the MC that night was Larry David, who put me through the audition. Yeah. And then I went to another club, the Comic Strip, which is still there in Manhattan. And Jerry Seinfeld was the MC and put me through. So I literally go back to day one of show business with those guys.
Wow.
And when I was living in LA, this is about 93, Seinfeld this is season 5. They called me together, and I knew something was up because, picking up a landline at that time and getting 2 people, one on the extension somewhere. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are they calling me together? And they're like, do you want to write on Seinfeld? And I'd never written on a sitcom, but my inexperience was really the advantage because they didn't want people who'd written for sitcoms before, because Larry David thought they were all crap and he wanted to create something new. So I was like, absolutely.
Old style is line, joke, line, joke,
yes.
line, joke.
Yeah.
And Seinfeld was different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he wanted to keep the pool pure.
Yeah.
How lucky was I that my inexperience led to this incredible job?
Is it true that the character of Elaine is based on you?
Well, people say that because I dated Jerry in the past, and we've stayed friends since then. But other than that, that's where the comparison ends. I like to think I'm a good dancer.
Yes.
I don't push people across the room yelling, "Get out." But what was good for me at the show, and I always encourage women writers because we have a different filter on life. We see the world in a different way. I mean, a guy would not have pitched, Elaine thinks the Korean manicures are talking about her behind her back in Korean because it happened to me. Elaine thinks there are skinny mirrors at the department store.
There are.
Exactly. And Heather, every guy in that writer's room did not know what a skinny mirror was. And I said, I can go out here on the lot and pass 10, 20 women. Each person will know what a skinny mirror is.
Yes.
Yeah. So
100%.
Using our experience is really crucial to comedy writing, and good shows are open to those ideas.
I love a vacation. Well, guess what? Vacation season is here. And this year, why not treat yourself to some luxe upgrades with Quince's high-quality travel essentials at fair prices? Like lightweight European linen styles from $30, washable silk tops, and comfy lounge sets. Plus premium luggage options and stylish tote bags for whatever you need to bring. I personally love their organic cotton fisherman cardigan. It is so cute, you guys. It's comfy, it's oversized, it's slouchy, chic, silhouette is amazing. Absolutely a year-round essential, and it goes well with a high-waist jean, if that's your thing. And the best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to you. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. We love that. So for your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/Heather for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/Heather to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Heather. Here's a question you might find yourself asking every day. What is happening to my body? It's your hormones. You reach a certain age and they definitely remind you that they are there. You know what I'm talking about. You got the hot flashes, you can't sleep, you're pissed off at everyone. Oh yeah, you're there. So let's talk about Happy Mammoth's Hormone Harmony. It's an herbal formula that fine-tunes your entire hormonal system. We are talking estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Plus, it helps with stress hormones like cortisol, which can contribute to weight gain. There are over 40,000 reviews on their website, and a bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And that's because Hormone Harmony can help with such a wide range of problems. Hot flashes and night sweats, racing thoughts and low moods, poor sleep and lack of energy, occasional bloating and gas, no desire to be in bed with someone, if you know what I mean. So for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code Heather at checkout.
AI. Okay, so initial reaction is we hate AI, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, and here we go. It's like when reality television came
Yes.
on and we were like, this is the death for actors. And here we are 14 years later.
Exactly.
So, okay, so understanding that AI, horrible, whatever. I have personally found now ways to use AI in my life that I think is really interesting and helpful.
What do you use it mostly for?
For research on travel. It's super helpful with that.
Yes.
Ways of, sometimes I will use it for dealing with the kids.
Like, give me an example.
Like, for example, I didn't want to say the wrong thing to my daughter about, she's like really nervous about getting into college, and the specific ones. And I think every time I say something, it does not come out right. And so I put in, if you have a sensitive child applying for college, how might one approach?
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it was exactly what I said, but it gave me a few
Takeaways?
pearls
Yeah.
that I could walk away with.
Wow.
Now, having said that, I'm a creative person. You're a creative person. Liz Astroff and I talk about this a lot. You know, we need our traumas for the funny.
Yes.
What do you think about AI and what it's doing to writers and everything?
Well, the good news is AI is great for your example. You know, you want to write a pamphlet about eczema. You're a dermatologist. Great. Knock yourself out. But
Scintillating.
but AI is not funny.
Right.
Like, for example, with my How to Write a Funny Speech book, a friend of mine, her daughter was getting married. I know her. I don't know her daughter at all. So we did what I usually do with helping someone with a speech. Got together for dinner. I said, tell me some stories about your daughter from childhood, from now. And it's very easy for a mom to tell some interesting stories about their kid.
Right.
So we took the bullet points of that and I put together a speech for her. I said, this is going to be fun. I said, I'm going to take the bullet points that you gave me about your daughter and put it into AI. I love it. And it was a disaster.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, just even from the beginning, welcome, esteemed guests. Like, who
talks? My mother talks like that, by the way. My mother.
Esteemed guests.
Yes, she'll write to me like I'm a stranger, darling. I'm like, who talks like that?
Yeah. And not only, Heather, was it not funny, the jokes were pathetic, but I mean, facts wrong. Where if she went up and she told this speech, it would have been an absolute right off the bat. It was horrible.
There's also a thing I read about called AI amnesia. I think it's called.
Oh, what is that?
It gets it wrong, factually incorrect.
Yes. And especially with writing a speech, it's all about the personal. The personal is the gold. Like, you're the only person who has the relationship with that person. So that's unique. So you've got to expound on that because that's what makes a speech terrific when you talk about your personal relationship that only you have with whoever's celebrating.
Yeah, the book is, all right, that's very interesting about the AI thing. The book is great. It's called How to Write a Funny Speech for a Wedding, Bar Mitzvah, Graduation, and Every Other Event You Didn't Want to Go to in the First Place. It's so funny. You did it with Rick Mitchell.
I did.
It's so, so good. And what you're going to love about it is it gives you every piece of practical information you need. And also at the end, there's like this Mad Libs kind of vibe where you can literally just plug in
fill in the blanks
and get it done. But I also thought there were really like I'm very comfortable, as you know,
Yes,
speaking
of course
in front of a crowd. But what I picked up some pearls in the book was, when sometimes I'm asked to do something spontaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to talk about that for a second, because I really want to. We're not going to give away the book because everyone needs to buy the book. And I really do believe that this is a book everyone should have in their home.
They should. And the foreword by Carol Burnett.
I mean, you can't get better than that.
Yeah. And Rick wrote for The Ellen Show for 5 years and won 5 Emmys.
Yeah. It's really helpful about how to pivot and how to put the funny in and how to break down a joke and really dial into it. All of that is really great. But I'm curious, what happens if someone asks you to do something spontaneously?
Well, here's the thing. I would feel like when you were asked to speak spontaneously at something, this person knew that you were going to be good at this. You're not going to ask the clunker in the audience to, hey, come on up, and speak. So right off the bat, I think the host, whoever it is, the celebrating person, is going to ask someone who they know is going to be good.
Right.
I hate to say this because, weddings, events like this, it's fun to drink. But if somebody asks you to speak spontaneously and you're 2 or 3 in,
don't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. I saw you put it in all caps, which was really, really funny. But it's true. Liquid courage is fine.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful.
You do.
Yes.
Have a drink. Sure. Have one to loosen the joints. But then people are like, oh, I feel good. I'll have 2 more or 7 more. Don't do it, because then you get up there and you're comfortable, but everybody else is incredibly uncomfortable at how hammered you are.
Yeah. And I think one of the best pieces of advice is keep it short.
Yes.
Long toasts are the worst.
Yeah. 5 minutes and under. And that's the sweet spot.
Yeah. And write it down.
Yeah. I never go up there with no notes. I mean, and I've been doing this a long time.
Even with stand-up?
No, stand-up, I know my act.
Okay.
Yeah. But making a speech, I definitely have some notes. I like to write bullet points.
Me too.
Because, you want to engage the audience. That's another bummer at these events when people read and they're either looking down at their phone, they don't look up at the audience once, and you feel like it's a school book report.
Right.
You got to be in the moment. And it's another thing we encourage. If the caterer drops a platter of rigatoni, it's okay to comment on that because everybody is aware of that.
Right.
Or if you lose your place, it's okay to say, you know what? I got to look at my notes. I lost my place. People understand that. The bar is set pretty low, which we wanted people to make them comfortable about that. A lot of people in the audience are like, glad it's not me.
Right.
Glad it's Eddie. So
but I just wonder if because things, on TikTok and stuff, they go viral when you see like these really funny, some people that get up and give very funny speeches. And I think some people, they think they're going to do that. But if that's not you, don't do that.
No. And that's what we also added in the book. For every event, we wrote a bunch of jokes that readers are free to steal.
Yeah, I love that.
If you see a joke you like, take it. That's what it's there for. That's worth your $15 for this book. So, but you don't have to get up there and be Jerry Seinfeld, A little bit of humor is always good, but a lot of that can come from your personal stories. I know someone who was talking about his mom, I think at a retirement party, and he just told this story about he asked for some shredded wheat. So the mom went to the supermarket and she brought home 3 boxes because she was like, I didn't know which one you wanted. So it not only is a cute story about the mom, but it shows what a sweet person she was to him growing up. So that's why I always like to ask people, tell me 1 or 2 stories that are dear to you about this person. And you can usually craft that. And we show you step by step in the book, the beginning, middle, and end, how to do it. And it's really not that hard.
No, it's not. You guys break it down really, really well. I also feel like if you don't feel like you're the right person for the toast, you can also say, no.
Yes.
I'm not comfortable doing that.
Right. See, if somebody asked you, I'd like you to make a speech, would you consider it? And if you say, and if you can't swing it, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because some people are too petrified. It'll just ruin their day. I asked Larry David to speak at Lori and my wedding, which was 10 years ago now. And he was like, I love you, but, it's going to ruin my golf game that day. Okay.
But you get it. You want him to come and be a guest and have fun and not be worried about it.
Right.
People always used to ask me to sing at their weddings.
Oh, wow.
And I was happy to do it.
Yeah.
But at one point, for my really close friends, but at one point it was like, I don't want to, because then you're heightened the entire time until you're done.
Yeah. And that's a bad feeling to have at an event.
The last wedding I sang at was Tamara's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Do you remember what you sang?
I sang Come Rain or Come Shine, but I sang during the ceremony. Not during it was part of instead of doing a reading, I did that. They couldn't clear the song, so they didn't show up. But I didn't care because I did it because she asked me to, not because I was trying to perform.
Yes. Oh, that's sweet.
But still, a lot of anxiety to do that.
That's another thing, we touch on in the book. When you throw an event, you also have some responsibility in terms of quieting the room down, making a nice welcome mat for your speakers. So that's important, to quiet the room down, have an order of the speeches.
Right.
Whoever is going to be best should be last.
Right.
That's why we always
Finish
tell
strong.
people, to keep it short, because there are so many other speakers.
Right.
Usually at an event like that. Another thing we tell people that Rick and I have both been at events where Heather gives an amazing speech and you're just quelling, as my people say, just wondering, this was one of the best speeches I've ever seen. And then they say, thank you. You give a nice toast and they just wander back to their seat. It's like, go over to the person,
hug
the
them.
couple. Yeah, hug them, you shake their, whatever, give them a kiss on the cheek, whatever. But do something like that, because it's very odd when someone gives a speech like that and then, okay, see you at the salad bar.
Right. And it's hard to follow that.
Yes.
Any tips for people that follow the really good speech?
Well, look, I know that as a comedian, when I have to follow somebody who just rocked the house,
right,
you just have to take the expectations down. Your speech is not going to be their speech. Maybe they killed, whatever. What you have to say, you got to go in feeling what I have to say is valuable. And what I have to say is not going to be what this other person said, because I have my own relationship with them. So, it happens.
Let's Talk is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedies, celebrity interviews, news, or even motivational speakers, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue, right? And guess what? Now you can call the shots on your auto insurance too. Enter the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. The Name Your Price tool puts you in charge of your auto insurance by working just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, then they'll show you a variety of coverages that fit within your budget, giving you options. Now that's something you want to press play on all day. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to choose the best option for you fast. It's just one of the many ways you can save with Progressive Insurance. Quote today at Progressive.com to try the Name Your Price tool for yourself and join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Companies and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout, envision the natural light streaming through the windows. Maybe you just want to visualize where your bar cart will go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you could see the exact unit you could be living in. You can literally envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com, the place to find a place. At our wedding, Terry and I gave really good speeches.
Oh, nice.
And my dad gave the weirdest speech ever.
Oh, my
parents were
God.
so weird at our wedding.
Really?
Yeah, my mom is like very 1950s, right? So she literally didn't speak. She just stood there and held her hands a certain way and smiled while my dad spoke, which I thought was super weird, but very her.
Yeah.
So God forbid she should talk and say something.
Right.
No, it was all like curated, right?
And what did your dad say?
My dad gave the weirdest speech. And now my dad was someone who was very used to speaking in front of people. He was a high-level executive and a former attorney and was comfortable speaking in front of people. It was the weirdest speech ever. He started talking, and he was talking about how my mom and I put the wedding together and how, about how some of the venues wanted us to pre-ask the guests if they wanted chicken, beef, or fish. Which, side story, was super weird because I had never heard of that at that time. I think it's more commonplace now to be asked your selection in advance. It's easier. They know what they're getting. But at the time, like, to my mother, what a faux pas to ask there should just be a choice. Like you're at a restaurant.
Right.
But you understand how expensive that is and how much they have to prep and all the things. And I remember when we were looking at the response cards because of course Mrs. John Strong had to do the invitations. There was nothing electronic. It had to be this. It had to be that. Very hard cardstock with gold egg. Didn't look like me at all, but it didn't matter. This is what she needed. And when we went to some other places just to look at invitations, some of the response cards had the choice. Some had a photo of a cow and a chicken and a fish. And my mom was dying. So I'm sure and like we can laugh about this.
Yes.
This is not a toast
No,
story.
It sounded like a story for home, like
it's
for
a
you
home
guys
story.
to
First
talk
of all,
about.
It's so obnoxious. That's the first problem. And I don't even know. There's nothing funny in there. Anyway, my dad, that's what he was talking about and just went on and on. And Terry and I were looking at each other like, what is he talking about?
Could you get past it? It didn't put a damper, I'm hoping.
No, it was fine. It was just not a good speech.
Yes.
There was nothing like sweet about me or how we met or, just. It was very 1950s. It was very impersonal.
I went to a wedding recently. The father of the bride got up. It was like a job fair. He just went through his daughter's resume. Yeah. She graduated cum laude from Yale, then went on to a residency.
It's so weird.
Yeah. And when it becomes the talk of the valet parking line of people going, could you believe that speech? Oh my God. I heard every job she's ever had. And, that's not good. You didn't want people leaving saying, boy, the people that got up to speak were so fantastic. And I had the best time. You're not like dissing on the speech giver.
And also, a wedding is different than a funeral. It's different than a retirement party. I think at a retirement party, you expect more people to speak because you're honoring this one person and it's a last hurrah.
Yes, that's true. It is very good to really extol that person because this is it. They're retiring. Right.
There's no more like pat on the back at the board meeting.
Yes.
Or
so lay it on.
Lay it on thick. Lay it on thick. Lay it on big. But with weddings, I also feel like you should limit how many people are speaking. We had someone pop up after the speeches were done. So my dad spoke, Terry and I spoke, and his best man. And that was it. Everyone else spoke. I had an opportunity to speak the night before at the rehearsal.
Yes,
dinner,
good idea.
Which I think is like a better time for like silly stories. I think at the actual wedding, everyone wants to dance and eat.
Yes.
And you don't want to sit there. And most people have been sitting through the ceremony for a long time and then waiting.
Or waiting to eat. The speeches go before you eat, and you're just sitting there with your stomach growling like, can you please wrap this up?
I know.
I want my chicken a la king.
We call it gig chicken. When I used to have my band, we'd be like, oh, what are we having for dinner? Oh, they're serving us the gig chicken? Okay, cool.
But that's the thing, too. I always like you and Terry spoke to each other during a wedding. When couples do that, I don't enjoy it when couples get married and they don't say something to each other, a little speech to each other, because that always brings you closer to the couple of just knowing how they feel about each other.
And it's different than the vows.
Yes.
Because your vows are very specific. Like you pour all over them. By the way, you could use the book for the vows too, to be honest.
Yes.
I mean, not that you need to throw jokes in, but it's cute.
Yeah.
When you can like funny, say something cute and funny to each other. But I mean, we didn't write vows like that. Because Terry was not comfortable at the time doing something like that.
Yeah,
even
surprised.
Speeches.
Yeah.
He was not. He's a different animal.
Yeah,
now.
he's out there now. When we go out, he is Mr. Fun, Mr. Party.
He is. I think privately he's always been that way, but I think having a television career has emboldened him and doing so much press. I mean, honestly, Carol, you wouldn't die. But he wrote, we've written 3 books together. He wrote one before that called The Acne Cure. And he went on like a little book tour, and I was with him, an actress, right?
Right.
And I'm like his momager, stage mom, wifeager or whatever. And I'm standing along the side, and I remember he was on like a CBS talk show. I can't remember what it was, but we were in New York. We're doing this thing. He looked so miserable. You had seen his face.
Yeah.
Like it was like someone was torturing him, sitting
Pure
there.
terror.
Terror, torture, couldn't answer a question.
Yeah.
Now he could totally do it. But I remember when we were, giving those speeches to each other, he was sweet and he was good. But he wasn't his normal big personality.
Yes. And, people always like how you met stories.
Yes.
Because that's really
what
important.
we told.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Actually, at our wedding, my wedding to Lori, I did give her the best joke of the night.
What'd you give her?
Well, she wasn't sure how to start her speech. So during the wedding, when she spoke to me during the ceremony, I gave her, Carol, you are the most wonderful, smart, beautiful, giving person I have ever met. And she paused and she ripped up the paper and said, well, enough with your draft.
That's hilarious.
And she brought down the house with that one. So, hey, people, take that one. It's already been done.
Well, I sort of did something similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Terry and I met on a blind date.
Oh, I think I heard this story at dinner. Tell me again.
Okay. We met on a blind date, but what people didn't know is that I had already seen a photo of him. So he was in the Orange County Register. It was a magazine, OC something, Top Bachelors. And
wow.
So there was a blurb, and for some reason they had chosen him for the picture, right? So there was blurbs about different people. There was a tall standing picture, and my friend had given it to me, and I'd saved it. And it was in my Filofax, folded.
Filofax,
well,
yes.
Listen, I'm a hard copy girl. So it was folded in my Filofax, and I was trying to think about what to do for the toast, and I don't remember what I did at the rehearsal dinner, but it was good. And so I was like, how do I follow that up? And so I called my girlfriend. I go, can you go to my apartment and grab this little piece of paper in my Filofax? She was like, sure. So I brought it, and I said, people don't know I actually saw him beforehand. So I opened it up, and I showed it, and I read it.
Oh, that's so great.
It was just like a little blurb, but it was like, I would do my perfect date is, and it was like, we sort of did that, but not as high life. As we flew coach. It was like, take a private jet to some, we went coach, So I read the whole thing, and then at the end I said, well, I just want everyone to know. He's off the market now. He's not a bachelor anymore. And I ripped it out.
Oh, that's so great.
It was good.
Oh, my God. That's so great.
It was a good speech.
I remember at dinner we talked about we have been together. You've been with Terry since 96.
28 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And same year, me and Lori.
How did you and Lori meet?
Good question.
Well, you were married.
I was married
before,
to a man.
man.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
foolish girl.
But I was divorced already for 6 years. No, wait a minute. 9 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just felt like I want to have an affair with a woman. That's in my Filofax. And I went to this Project Angel Food charity event with gay friends of mine, couple. And I saw Lori across the table. She was actually with another woman. But I was so taken with her. She is so pretty.
Yeah.
And I just said to my friend, you know what? And I talked to her a little bit. I said to my friend, I think I have a little crush on Lori Wolf. And he said, let me try to, let me try to hook you up through golf, which of course, lesbians. And we met at Whitsett golf course.
And she's quite a golfer.
She is.
Yeah.
She really
Were
is.
you?
I was starting.
Okay.
I was starting to play. Larry David, actually, for my 40th birthday, gave me golf lessons. I guess he knew before me that I was a lesbian. So anyway, we meet at Whitsett, and then we go to Art's Deli afterwards to get a bite. And we were talking, and I was saying how I was single, kind of leading towards something happening. She made a hard left. She was like, I work with so many guys at my office I could set you up with. And I'm like, oh my God,
she's not getting it.
She's not getting it. So I went back to my friend after that date and I told him the story. And he said, yeah, I spoke to her. And I told her that you were sort of interested in her. And Lori said, well, I'm not going to be some experiment for a straight woman.
I get that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But then a couple months later, she called me. I was writing at Larry Sanders. I remember this. And she was like, I have a ticket tonight to an extra ticket to the Beverly Hills Policeman's Ball. She was working for a real estate company. Yes.
Do you have a dress?
Yeah. She was like, do you want to go? And we went, and then, a couple glasses of wine. And I remember she was going over to the silent auction table and going, ooh, Hawaii. Ooh, that'd be fun. And I was like, oh, the wheels are kind of turning here. And from that day on, we've been together. That night on.
Back up the truck.
Yes.
There it is.
Back up the U-Haul. Back up the Subaru. I'm with a woman now.
Was that hard for you to tell your friends and your ex, or did you just feel like?
Yeah, I wasn't at that. My ex and I haven't really been connected since we divorced. It's so funny that people sometimes go over me and they say, oh, I know your ex-husband. It's like, great. I don't know him anymore. Like there's no connection. But it was hard to tell my parents, I waited a year.
And they had no idea.
They had no idea. It's funny, I'll tell you in retrospect. But I went home and I thought it was going to be like I was going to be the rock and they were going to fall apart. The opposite happened, Heather. I was really emotional. My mother was like, love is a gift from God. No,
be
this
happy.
is great. Exactly. And I was crying, actually. And my father was like, why are you crying, Carol? And I said, because I thought you'd be disappointed. And my father said, I'll tell you when I was disappointed, when you married that Gentile. Typical Jewish father, right?
Totally.
Yeah, it was like, a Jew from Brentwood. It was like, let's break out the Manischewitz.
Right.
Let's all do the horror.
Perfect. We're going to have a hoopah this time.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
But you know what's interesting? I had 2 months before that, I had a fibroadenoma in one of my breasts, and I had to have it out. I went to New York because I was still in the head of New York doctors.
Yeah.
And Lori came with me. And I told my parents, oh, my friend is coming. And we went to my house in Long Island and had lunch one day before the surgery. And we took a walk around the block, my parents and me and Lori. And after I came out to my parents, my mom said to me, I knew it. And I said, how did you know? She said, when you and Lori were walking ahead of us, I said to Seymour, they're together. The body language was just something you cannot ignore.
Moms know.
Yes, moms know. They do.
Hey, great. Well, you got a good one. You guys are the greatest couple. She's fabulous. You're fabulous. I could literally talk to you for hours.
And we do at our dinners. We close places down.
We close the joints down. And we're going to make a new,
yes.
We're going to make a dinner date.
Absolutely.
How to Write a Funny Speech. You guys, this book is amazing. I'm telling you, everyone needs this. I'm going to post a link.
Oh, fantastic.
And this is a good gift.
Yes, because speech season is coming up.
Graduations,
yes.
Mother's Day,
and June weddings. Come on.
All right, here we go.
Pick it up.
Let's do it. Tell everyone how to find you on social.
I'm at Carol Leifer. It's very easy. Carol, Leifer.
There it is.
Yeah, don't forget it.
Thank you.